I first started listening to Corey Taylor and Slipknot when I was also starting to get really serious about my own vocal exploration. Man, Wait and Bleed, the Iowa era stuff, so incredibly brutal. And what I initially heard from those recordings was power, push, angst, and muscles. I didn't really know what to do with it. My natural reaction, based on some of the other singers I had explored erroneously, was just to push harder and harder until my voice started to my ears, sound sort of like what Corey Taylor was doing, but that didn't work at all. In just a few minutes of experimenting with that level of intensity, I remember tasting blood and going really hoarse and going, this can't be it. If Corey Taylor can do this for extended periods of time and sound like he does, I'm doing something really, really wrong. And then I heard this. Well, it wasn't the first time I heard it, but in light of what I was experiencing with my own voice and listening to Slipknot, I heard it a little different. The way Darren breaks up with his voice, the way he sounds desperate. I didn't hear that in Corey Taylor's voice. I didn't hear the desperation. I do now, but at the time I didn't. It took listening to System of a Down and hearing the way those two vocalists interacted that pointed out the desperation and vulnerability in Corey Taylor's voice. And I put what Corey and Darren were doing together. That was the point that I was able to start experimenting with my voice for longer periods of time and in ways that didn't totally trash it within a matter of minutes or seconds. And I began to realize that the key to great screaming and distorted vocals is not more and more power. It's vulnerability. It is abandon. These two words have stuck with me from that point all throughout what I've been doing as a vocalist, and they are key. And when I started to get into singers like John Mess, Sam Carter, and Spencer Sotelo, my methods and suspicions were confirmed even more.
My name is John Mess.
When you're vulnerable, you're leaving yourself open to being attacked. You're a bit defenseless. Your voice might quiver. You might exhibit signs of fear and showing emotions you don't necessarily want others to see. When I began to start with the vulnerable side and then lean into the vulnerability, it all clicked. I began to feel my false chords engage as an unconscious method of self-protection from my body, rather than me having to force engagement of that area based on more and more pressure. And then when I started to lean into those raw emotions, when my body had already reacted to the vulnerability and anxiety I was feeling, that's when the magic really started to happen. I was able to revisit the style of Corey Taylor and some of my other favorite vocalists around that time and really have success. Do things that felt great, sounded great, and were really fun to work with in my own voice. And those led to other self-discoveries. But it wasn't about being this. It was about being this. Being real and vulnerable. And letting myself experience emotions and letting those come out in a genuine way. And then observing how my body reacted to me being genuinely vulnerable and experiential. By the way, if you want to develop your aggressive and harsh vocals, click the link below and join my free voice course, and I'll help you discover the fundamentals you need to start doing some of these things with your own voice. You see, for a long time, I thought these guys were getting their sound simply by being angry and powerful and big. And that didn't work for me. I had to go the other direction and let this stuff happen as a result. For more on how to sing like Corey Taylor and get your screams whipped into shape, try these videos.